councillors, members of our community and members of the press. Welcome to our March Ordinary Council meeting. I will draw your attention to the disclaimer on the front of the agenda document. I'll remind you that the meeting is being recorded and will be live streamed and available to the public on our website. So if you are speaking this evening, you may be captured. You're likely to be captured on that. I will start off by acknowledging the Whadjuk Noongar people, the traditional custodians of the land where we meet today, and pay respects to their elders past and present. So I've done that a little bit the other way around. I'll draw your attention also to the rules of procedure that govern how meetings are run, in particular in relation to participation by members of the community. Public question time. Questions can be on any item of council business, and we allocate 15 minutes, 3 minutes per person for questions. If your questions can be answered, we will answer them. If they require research or if they're wide-ranging and require consideration, we'll take them on notice, and we will reply to you in writing if you provide us with contact details, and they will appear in the minutes of the next meeting. Public statement time can be on any item relating to the agenda, so it has to be an agenda item. So I'm going to start off. We don't have anyone who has registered public questions. Is there anyone wishing to ask questions? No. Well, then I will move to public statement time, and we have a public statement from Nicole Delamotte. Ms Delamotte, would you like to come to the lectern, and if you can just give your name and address and the item that you're speaking to. You've indicated here it's to be confirmed, and I presume that it is 10.1.6, the Club Nightlights program funding application. Yeah, so that's 10.1.6. So could I get you to come to the lectern, please? And there is a monitor that will let you know if how you're tracking for time.
Yes, which we didn't do so well with last week.
Yeah, that's
we'll
okay.
try better. I'm Nicole. I am a parent of a son, and I'm a parent to a son and a daughter that both play for Cottesloe Junior Football Club, and I'm here tonight as a committee member, and I've managed one of our female teams for the past 3 years. So on behalf of the Cottesloe Magpies Junior Football Club, I would like to provide an overview of the Club Nightlights program application to upgrade the existing sports lighting. The upgrade to sports lighting at Cottesloe Oval ensures this community is fit for purpose. The current lighting is outdated halogen lumières that do not provide sufficient illumination to the primary playing field, nor does the current lighting meet the required Australian standards for sports lighting, notably the minimum lux levels for amateur AFL. This presents a very real risk to players and volunteers when winter training schedules run into the evening after sunset. It also precludes the club from hosting the female team games scheduled for Friday evenings. The club would like to meet the required sports lighting standards, not only to provide a safe playing ground, but to ensure we don't discriminate in our community and make the sport as inclusive and equitable as possible. The club is grateful to the council and the community for their continued support of this proposal and hopes to continue working together for an optimal outcome. Tonight's support for the Club Nightlights program application will be one step closer. The application includes 2 quotations from reputable lighting designers and contractors with a significant amount of information. Sorry, the emotions kind of got me. Okay, the total project cost is around $300,000, with the club wholly funding this. The grant application is for 50% of the project cost. These costs include such things as the removal of the existing outdated poles, which unfortunately can't be repurposed for this application. It also allows for sophisticated controls to allow dimmable settings for the purpose to adjust lux levels, for the purpose of adjusting lux levels to suit training, matches, and monthly pastor nights to ensure families can move from the clubhouse to the vehicles safely. In addition to this, time settings are programmable, which ensures the club meets required curfews once determined with the council. Our club consists of approximately 200 members aged between 7 and 15 years old, of which a quarter are female players aged 9 to 13 years old. It is reasonable to assume training times in the winter months will finish timely for these adolescents, with current teams scheduled to train between 4 to 7:30 across 3 nights of the week. The West Australian Football Commission is responsible for scheduling the Friday evening games, with matches commencing as early as 5:45 and finishing no later than 9 o'clock. Our girls' team...
Ms Delamott, I'm just going to, we can, because you're the only speaker, okay. I'll give you a few more minutes and I'll just ask if we can maybe start it again and try not to go into the next round of claps. Sure. But I'll give you more time. You're the only speaker here this evening. So.
Oh, thank you. I'm over halfway through and I'm feeling less emotional now, so thank you. The West Australian Football Commission is responsible for scheduling the Friday evening games, with matches commencing as early as 5:45 and finishing no later than 9 o'clock. Our girls' team has had a scenario play out at another venue whereby we have had time shaved off each quarter due to the game starting late to ensure the matches that evening finished before the automated lights turned off at 9 o'clock. So thankfully no one was playing in the dark that night, but there's I guess an anecdote to how other venues have similar time pressures. The club has been committed to this project for several years, since our inaugural female team in 2023, and sees this project going hand in hand with the development of the Anderson Pavilion, where equitable facilities are now provided. The club has sought support and guidance through the West Australian Football Commission throughout this process and has undertaken extensive consultation with accredited lighting designers of sporting facilities and recommended contractors that have delivered lighting projects in neighbouring residential areas. The club has already spent approximately $6,000 on works associated with due diligence, such as geotechnical works to ensure the subsurface conditions are suitable for footings. In some instances, clubs have got to the installation point and realised that their football oval is built on a rubbish tip and the project's halted. We've also optimised the 4-pole locations, the design of the 4-pole locations to minimise perceived glare and provide uniform luminosity to the playing field, whilst achieving the required minimum lux levels. In addition to this, the club is committed to ensuring an independent accredited lighting designer review finalised designs prior to undertaking works. In the recent survey, the club was overwhelmed by the unanimous support from its members and the validation of how critical this project is for the club. Both the club and the council identified 3 main items raised by primary survey respondents, and we understand both parties feel these concerns can be mitigated with regulatory framework. And when I say council, I mean the council officer's report. The club wants to ensure this family-focused community venue is safe and made fit for purpose, and more importantly, inclusive. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms Delamott. There are no other members of the public here to speak, so I am going to move on through the agenda. Attendance. I will start off with our apologies. We have no apologies. We have 2 elected members on approved leave of absence, and that is Councillor Walinko and Councillor Bulbeck. And do we have staff on?
Through the Chair, yes, Mr Paul Nielsen, Manager of Planning Services, is also an apology tonight. He's listed on the agenda.
Okay, thank you. Applications for leave of absence. I have... That's a disclosure of interest. Have we got... Yeah, is that the only one?
Yeah, that's the only one.
Okay. We have, don't want to make you feel guilty, Councillor Sadler, that you're the only one. We have an application from Councillor Sadler for leave from the 24th of July to the 2nd of September for personal leave holiday. I move that Councillor Sadler be granted leave for that period. Do I have a seconder? Councillor Heath. All in favour? That's passed unanimously. Thank you. I'm just going to note that, sorry. Yes, 20. Thank you. Declarations of interest. Councillor Heath, you've submitted a form.
Yes, I have 3 items where I have an impartiality interest. The Cottesloe Magpies 10.1.6, 10.1.7 and the North Cottesloe Surf Club 13.1.1 because my family and particularly my children are members of those clubs, but I can make my decision on the merits of the case.
Thank you. Were there any other declarations of interest in respect of items? Okay. Right. Confirmation of minutes, and that is, there is just one? No, there are 2. Do I have a mover that the minutes of the ordinary meeting of council held on Tuesday the 25th of February 2025 be confirmed as a true and accurate record? Councillor Harkin, seconded Councillor Sadler. All in favour? And that's unanimous, thank you. And do I have a mover that the minutes of the special meeting of council held on Friday 14th of March 2025 be confirmed as a true and accurate record? Councillor Heath, and a seconder, Councillor Sadler. All in favour? That's unanimous, thank you. Now, bearing with me. I'm going to go through the items that have been called up for debate this evening. I'll ask the CEO if he can...
Through the Chair, the items that need to be called up or have been called up, item 10.1.2, the mid-year budget review, it's called up because it requires an absolute majority. Item 10.1.6, Cottesloe Junior Football Club, Club Nights Program Funding Application. Item 10.1.8, Western Power Community Battery Program. And items 13.1.1 and 13.1.2, both are confidential, being recommended to be discussed behind closed doors.
Thank you. So the on-block items are 10.1.1, monthly financial statements. In fact, I'm looking for a mover that the following items be considered on block. Item 10.1.1, monthly financial statements for the period 1 July to 28 February, 1 July 24 to 28 February 25. Compliance, or 10.1.3, compliance audit return 2024. Item 10.1.4, Indiana refurbishment works and sauna facility. Item 10.1.5, amendment number 15 to local planning scheme 3, short-term rental accommodation, consideration for advertising. Item 10.1.7, Anderson Pavilion Cottesloe Junior Football Club Magpies licence agreement. Item 10.1.9, Community Infrastructure Strategy. Item 10.2.1, Receipt of Audit Committee Minutes. Do I have a mover, Councillor Thomas, and a seconder, Councillor Sadler, that those items be adopted in terms of the officer's recommendation en bloc? So that was Councillor Thomas and Councillor Sadler. All those in favour? That's unanimous, thank you. So those items that have been passed en bloc will be have been adopted in accordance with the officer's recommendation, and the remaining items, which the CEO has read out, are the ones that will be the subject of consideration by Council. I'm going to move that we rejig the agenda so that we consider the Cottesloe Junior Football Club Night Lights program funding application as the first item. Councillor Harkins, do I have a seconder? Councillor Mason, all in favour? That's unanimous, thank you. So, turning to item 10.1.6, Cottesloe Junior Football Club Club Night Lights program funding application on page 37. I have Councillor Harkins moving. Do I have a seconder? Councillor Sadler. Councillor Harkins.
Just briefly, thank you, Mayor. I would urge elected members to support this application. We've had a very good explanation tonight and at the agenda forum from the club, and the club representative this evening spoke very clearly to explain the importance of these lights, so I won't repeat everything she said. I think an important thing for the community to know is that it's been pointed out that the absolute latest it can be is 9 p.m, which I think will allay any fears of the neighbours. Most of it's going to be 7 p.m, and the odd night it may be 9 p.m, which I don't think is very late. A very important statistics contained in the officer's report points out that 81% of Cottesloe Magpies are Cottesloe residents, which is quite unusual for clubs in our local government area. So I think it's yet another reason why it's important that we support this very good initiative. Thank you.
And Councillor Sadler.
I don't need to speak, thank you.
I would like to propose an amendment, to move an amendment. I've circulated it earlier, and that is that the officer's recommendation be amended by the inclusion of a new paragraph as follows, quote 5, requests that hours of use of the upgraded lights are to be as agreed between the Cottesloe Junior Football Club and the town to improve amenity and player equity for junior football purposes. Do I have a seconder? Councillor Harkins, thank you. The reason for that is, and I do appreciate that Ms Delamotte has covered off on some of this, but a lot of members of the community are not going to be privy to that information. Feedback from immediately impacted neighbours, although it was on balance supportive, there were some, in the 40-50%, I think, who raised concerns and weren't able to support it. So I think that by adding this, we can go some way to allaying their concern that upgraded lighting might encourage increased demand for night use of the Harvey Field, which would have a negative impact on local amenity. It's a very minor amendment. It says what we already understand, but it just clarifies that our intent is that the upgraded lighting is aimed at improving amenity for participants in junior football, the significant majority of whom are Cottesloe residents, and promoting player equity for junior football players, and including the increasing number of young girls playing. And I feel that clarifying that this is the focus might allay those concerns, and it will minimise adverse impact on neighbours while still delivering exactly the improved amenity that the club has made the application to gain. So I would urge the adoption of that probably quite minor amendment. The seconder was
Councillor Harkins.
Thank you.
I would just endorse the Mayor's comments. I think it's a good idea, again, to clarify for the community exactly what the lights are going to be doing and that the administration will be overseeing that the timing is appropriate, which the club seem to not have a problem with. So I think it's a sensible amendment, just to make it very crystal clear for the community.
Did anyone want to speak against the amendment? I'll put it to the vote. All in favour? And that's unanimous, thank you. And then returning to the substantive motion, did anyone want to speak against the substantive motion as amended? I will put it to the vote then. All in favour? That's passed unanimously, thank you. So, returning back to the order of the agenda. 10.1.2, mid-year budget review. As I understand it, that has been called up because it requires an absolute majority. I don't know that there were any amendments proposed.
Sorry, there was an amendment.
Oh, I beg your pardon. I beg your pardon. So, did we have an amendment to this?
Through the chair, I only had a response from the administration at the last notice, so I didn't have a chance to email anything through. So I've just got a very minor amendment, if I say, but
Have you is it printed?
I've emailed it through to the administration so they can put it up on the overhead there.
Okay, thank you. Okay, can everybody access that proposed amendment? Is there anyone? You've got to read it out. Yes.
It hasn't been moved yet. I haven't kind of moved it.
Okay, yes, okay, thank you. So, do I have a mover of the officer's recommendation on the item? Councillor Harkins, and a seconder, Councillor Mason. So, Councillor Harkins, did you want to speak to this?
Yes, very briefly, to say that I think there's some extremely beneficial items that we've been able to include in our mid-year review. The speed cushions, because the community are asking for traffic to be slowed down, so that will go some way to doing that, as will the improving the line markings on Marine Parade. The drink fountain, which clearly is about to be discussed. The cricket net renewal is very exciting for the members of the community, and also the basketball hoop on Harvey Field, because they are in dire need, both of those pieces of infrastructure. So I think that's very exciting for the community.
Thank you. Councillor Mason?
Yes, I endorse Councillor Harkins' comments. I'm very excited about the added amenity of a drink fountain to the skate park, and also the cricket nets, which are absolutely in need of renewal and I know will bring so much joy to so many of our young local residents.
Thank you. Councillor Sadler?
Look, thank you very much. I was just wanting to move that minor amendment. I do want to thank the administration for their hard work preparing the mid-year budget review, and as I endorse most of the sentiments reflected by my two other elected members. The amendment that I was wanting to move, if I have a seconder, is that we endorse the recommendation that is written by the administration, just subject to item 2E, the John Black June drink fountain for $65,000 being removed, and the $65,000 being transferred to the infrastructure reserve, just so the item can be considered as part of the 2025-2026 budget process, which commences in April 2025. So if I had a seconder, then I will speak to it.
Is there a seconder for the motion, for the amendment? Thank you.
So, look, thank you very much. And look, I think the administration spent a lot of time doing things such as looking at our long-term financial plan. And while I think there's a lot of merit in having a drink fountain in the vicinity, $65,000 actually represents about 0.5% of rates. So that's not, 1/200th. There's not an insubstantial amount just to actually move in a mid-year budget. And when we commit $65,000 to our in spending, that's actually creating a $65,000 asset management liability. And I just think that we should actually, given that we're actually going through a formal budget process which begins the next month, we should actually just look at everything against each other and make sure that we're actually making the right decisions and looking against our long-term financial plan. So we've been trying to operate at a strategic level, and while there is some merit in this, we also may be able to place this drink fountain in a location which is easily accessible to the skate park, but in slightly different proximity, which creates availability for far more residents. I don't know what that outcome is, but I feel like putting this in this way is just being slightly through the gates a little bit too early, and that we should just pause and consider it in a month's time. So in the meantime, it's cost neutral. We're just basically putting that money, $65,000, into the infrastructure reserve, just parking it for 1 to 2 months while we actually make a decision and compare it against all the town's other priorities. So I encourage you just to say, indulge me, and to function a little bit more strategically by looking at it with a full formal budget process which is about to commence. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Thomas, did you want to speak to that?
I'll reserve my right.
Anyone want to speak against? Councillor Harkins?
Thank you. While I understand Councillor Sadler's thought process and being mindful of funds, this is not a project that's all of a sudden been thought of. We're in the very early days of the skate park, a water fountain was discussed, and the community have been, when the skate park was open, there was discussion, why isn't there a water fountain? And we explained it was because of the research had to be done with Watercorp to see where the mains was coming from. So that was the reason why it wasn't put in at the very beginning. Administration have now found out where the water main is. It's coming from Napier Street. In answer to Councillor Sadler's question today about the difference if we were to put the water fountain closer to the mains, we've been advised that the difference would possibly be around the $5,000 mark. So the water fountain is still going to cost roughly $60,000 possibly. So I don't think pausing it will make a great deal of difference. So I do think this is a good opportunity to have a piece of infrastructure that the community are wanting and to start it sooner rather than later. If we wait for the budget, that just pushes it for months further down. So I think it's important that we go ahead with it, and hopefully it's one that will have a dog bowl at the bottom as well, so dogs can have a drink. They seem to be very popular. So I will be voting against the amendment for those reasons. Thank you.
Anyone else? Sorry, Councillor Mason? Yeah.
Thank you. So I think we can't afford to have a delay on this infrastructure. I think it is the most common feedback I receive in relation to the skate park, that we need water facilities. I think especially if it has a dog bowl, it services not only children and walkers with their drink bottles, but also dogs on leashes that attend the park. I think it is also important to note that having it moved closer to Napier Street would not be a viable safety option in my consideration, with children having to fill up water bottles and needing that supervision to move from the skate park closer to the road. I think if a life cycle of a drink fountain is, at a minimum 10 years, we can afford $6,000 to hydrate our Cottesloe and visitors' children.
I am going to speak in support, I'm going to speak against the amendment, but I do really want to acknowledge Councillor Sadler's approach, which is generally the way that we would go and should be encouraged. The reason that which is to be strategic and to consider items against competing priorities at the appropriate time. The reason that I am supportive of, or that I'm not supportive of removing it, broadly the reasons that Councillor Harkins has given, which is this isn't a new item. It is something that has been under consideration, and it's been waiting to happen. So I really commend the approach about being strategic. I think that's something that should be our sort of default go-to, but I'm willing in this case to support leaving it in because I think that it's not just an idea someone's come up with and trying to get in ahead of other ideas. So on that basis, I won't support the amendment. Did anyone else want to speak at all to the amendment? I'll put it to the vote. All in favour of the amendment, that's Councillor Sadler, and against, that's remaining councillors. So the amendment is lost. And we go back to the substantive motion. Did anyone want to speak against the substantive motion? I'll put the substantive motion to the vote then. All in favour? That's unanimous, thank you. The next item that has been called up is 10.1.8, Western Power Community Battery Program. That's on page 48. I understand there was an alternative motion. Councillor Sadler, are you moving?
Through
Sorry?
the chair, Councillor Thomas actually had his motion.
But that was an amendment. It's an alternative motion.
They're both amendments.
Oh, sorry, I beg your pardon, sorry, I'm mixing it up with another item on the agenda. Sorry. So, here we are. We have the officer's recommendation on page 53. Do I have a mover of the officer's recommendation? Well, can't have amendments if we don't have a mover. Thank you. And Councillor Harkins. Councillor Heath, do you want to... Sorry about that. So when we come to the amendments, I will take them in the order they've been received. Sorry. So, Councillor Heath.
No, I support the officer's recommendation. I think we've had some very good explanation about this community battery, and it seems that it will be a positive thing and it aligns with our plan. So I support the officer's recommendation.
Thank you. Councillor Harkins.
Nothing to add at this stage.
And then Councillor Thomas. Sorry, there were two amendments that you circulated.
The B2 is the...
Oh, okay, yep. Okay, I thought that was the name of the battery. Okay, so do you want to move your amendment?
Yep, I move an amendment to point 1, which is that we support the community battery at that location, and then the amendment is subject to Western Power securing agreement from Synergy to provide a virtual battery subscription model that allows residents to directly participate in and benefit from the community battery. If such an agreement is not secured, the matter is to be brought back to Council for further consideration.
And do we have a seconder for that motion? Well, I'll move it for the purpose of debate. I'll second it for the purpose of debate.
So the battery will help manage solar energy, reducing pressure on the grid and increasing renewable energy. That's a very positive step and something we should support. But the purpose is also to really engage the community to support the energy transition more broadly, and we need to make sure they see direct benefits from this battery. The virtual battery subscription model has been used in other batteries and is referred to as the power bank model with Synergy. And this allows residents to subscribe and reserve a share of the battery for their home. And this allows residents who subscribe to save up to a couple $100 a year on their bills, whilst also tailoring their energy usage to better meet the needs of the grid. This model also improves energy equity. Not everyone has the means to install a home battery, so people without the space, renters, apartment dwellers, or people without the financial means can also access the benefits of battery storage. The energy grid of the future is built around distributed energy resources like rooftop solar and community batteries. And I believe for this to work, people need to understand and support the shift. And a model that simply absorbs excess solar, that is like that is being proposed, without direct community involvement, is a missed opportunity. Finally, this battery is funded by a federal grant, so I believe it makes sense to ensure that the benefits flow back to the community in a tangible way. And that's why I believe our approval should be conditional on the power bank model being implemented.
I am going to reserve my my thoughts for the moment. Did anyone want to speak against the amendment? Councillor Harkins?
I'm not speaking against the principle of it because obviously it all sounds fabulous, but we did get an email from the CEO with an alternative wording, which I actually do feel more comfortable with, because if I can just indulge and read out his wording was he suggested to have point 1 and then instructs the CEO to investigate the feasibility of providing a virtual battery subscription model to residents such as Powerbank in partnership with Western Power and Synergy. To me, it seems that we're still going ahead with the battery, which is clearly a very good thing, but we're asking the CEO to investigate that with Western Power and Synergy rather than holding them over a barrel and saying, we're not going to let you do that unless you do that, which is sort of out of our control anyway. So I do feel more comfortable with the wording that the CEO proposed. So that's why I'm not in favour of this amendment. I don't know if you would entertain that, but that's my thoughts. Thank you.
Can I make the suggestion to Councillor Thomas that you might want to foreshadow an amendment in those terms if your proposed amendment fails? Look, I'm going to speak against the amendment because I believe that we run the risk of falling into the stereotype of, people who support energy transition as long as it's not in our backyard. And if it's going to be in our backyard, you've got to give us something for it. And we were advised by Western Power. Now, I don't know if this is if this can be verified, but that Synergy is effectively a closed system. So any discount given to one group of users inevitably comes at the expense of others. And I have concerns about how that contributes to energy equity. If people who have solar batteries and who have the good fortune of Western Power offering to do this get a discount over other people who are not as fortunate. So I think energy equity might play both ways. And I also think if we're going to kind of embrace this move, we really should go, full out. And any contingency, I think, is likely to see us lose the opportunity. It concerns me to be a community that says that we'll only participate if there's something in it for us, because really I think our community is probably looking at the greater good. So I would be much more comfortable with attempting to get that but not making it conditional. So I don't know if, Councillor Thomas, if you want to foreshadow that sort of amendment. Did anyone else want to speak to this particular amendment?
I would speak in favour of the foreshadowed one, which I know is preemptive, rather than wanting to speak against this one, because I think things have been covered by the Mayor and Deputy Mayor.
Okay, well, before, well, you can move another amendment at any time, so we'll see how this goes. You can move an amendment, actually,
I'll
yeah.
just respond to the.
There's no right of reply.
Oh, sorry.
Yeah.
Oh,
So, but you know, if you can raise that in a foreshadowed motion. So, all in favour of this amendment is Councillor Thomas, and against, that's the balance. And Councillor Thomas, do you want to raise the alternative?
yes, I would.
Yeah, thanks.
You've got that on.
Through the chair, unfortunately, we don't have it available for the. I can read it out if you like. So effectively, it's just to be another dot point. So dot point 4, which would read, instructs the CEO to investigate the feasibility of providing a virtual battery subscription model to residents, such as Powerbank, in partnership with Western Power and Synergy. We can't get it on the screen, sorry.
Okay, so that is as per the your wording in your email, so if we're referring to that. So that is moved by Councillor Thomas and seconded by Councillor Sadler. Councillor Thomas?
Yes, so thank you to councillors and the mayor that spoke. Appreciate the feedback and the debate. While I do think the greater good is actually served from more increased engagement and benefits to individual households, I do take their points that there's other ways of looking at it as well. And I think this is a sensible middle ground. The amendment that was proposed by the CEO, which allows this option to be explored, but doesn't, I suppose, close off the opportunity to support this.
Thank you, Councillor Sadler.
Thank you very much, and thank you for being accommodating, Councillor Thomas. I support this because I think it does give us some wiggle room. It ensures that we advance this project, and I'm very minded that Synergy said to us that because of increased demand in Cottesloe, if we don't have a battery, then we're going to be required to have a new transformer, and that is going to actually be required because of times of excess supply and insufficient supply. And so I would really, and that this is a less expensive option for Synergy/Western Power. So I think that we should be seen to be engaging positively in the energy transition rather than wanting to put up an absolute roadblock. So for that reason, I feel like we're actually moving our energy with their energy, metaphorically, moving in the same direction rather than setting up a roadblock. So I'm sort of supportive of this while actually maintaining the intent of what you're wanting to achieve, which I think the community would also welcome. So that's why I'm speaking in favour of the amendment. Thank you.
Does anyone want to speak against the amendment? So I'll put that amendment to the vote. All in favour? Can I have hands up, please? So that is Councillor Heath, Sadler, Harkins, Thomas and Mayor Young. Against? Councillor Mason and Councillor Irvine. So that is passed. So we're back to the substantive motion as amended, which was moved by Councillor Heath, seconded by Councillor Harkins. Did anyone want to speak against the...
Another amendment.
Oh, yes, sorry. Yep.
I had a minor amendment which would become a new point 5, and the one which says now the current point 5, the notes the responsibility. I just don't want to move that at all, following some feedback from the CEO. So I'll read out what my amendment. I say because of the point 4 by Matthew, is that by Councillor Thomas? This would be a point 5. requests the Chief Executive Officer liaise with Western Power to express preference for the community battery to be placed in the current general location while maximising the distance from immediate neighbours and minimising the loss of green space by placing the community battery on existing hard stand to the extent that it is possible. And that was the only thing I was wanting to move as an amendment. If I had a seconder, then I will speak to it. Thank you.
Councillor Thomas, so that's moved. Councillor Sadler seconded. Councillor Thomas. Councillor Sadler?
The reason why I wanted to move this was because currently the Synergy has given us a general location, and it's unclear whether that we placed on the grass, which is a little bit closer to residents, or placed on hard stand or somewhere in between. And there may be constraints which I'm unaware of, so I'm not trying to actually limit the battery going in, but I wanted to provide some direction for Synergy that if the battery could be placed further away from residents, it will minimise the impact on them, and also that Grant Marine Park is well loved, and minimising loss of green space does really align with sort of community expectations in that regard. But as I say, there is existing hard stand there, but there may be a need to use a little bit of both, and I just wanted to maximise latitude while providing some direction to the administration and to Synergy. So I'd encourage people to support my amendment. Thank you.
Councillor Thomas.
I reserve my right to speak later.
Thank you. Anyone want to speak against the amendment? I'll put it to the vote. All in favour? That is Councillor Heath, Sadler, Harkins and Thomas, and Mayor Young, and against is Councillor Mason and Councillor Irvine. So that is passed. So if you just bear with me. So we're back to the substantive motion, which now includes those two amended paragraphs. Did anyone else want to speak to the Councillor Mason?
Yes, thank you. I'd like to speak against the officer recommendation. So I wanted to firstly say that this is obviously not a debate on the virtues of renewables, which are widely acknowledged and accepted, but my reasoning for objecting this motion is that this is a decision whether now is the right time for this technology, and if the location, metres from Marine Parade and within a beloved local park, and in close proximity to two benches which are currently under a beautiful shaded area within that park with North Cottesloe beach views, if it's appropriate for our town at this time and in that location. We have a high proportion of residents who have installed solar panels, and we have a higher than average number of residents who would be in a position to purchase a personal battery. As elected members heard from Western Power representatives, this technology is changing very quickly. This would only be the 17th community battery installed across WA. I share concerns of many with regards to noise and fire risk. As Western Power informed us, they've had to fix many of the Tesla units installed as recently as 2018 because they were noisier than expected post-installation. More importantly, installation of this battery and land acquisition by Western Power does not provide cost savings to individual households. There is no cash in the back pocket benefit. There is, however, loss to this park. The battery size, plus the clearance space and no vegetation area, plus the noise and fire risks of the lithium-ion battery tech. The location is the entranceway to Grant Marine Park, visible from Grant Street, an entry road to Cottesloe. Put simply, when asked why Cottesloe, Western Power confirmed it was not identified by the state, was not on Western Power's radar, and it was our administration who volunteered us for this program. To summarise, it does not equate to dollars in pockets. It is early stage tech with a fire and noise hazard probability and would be unsightly and unwelcome addition so close to our beachfront. The time may come in the near future for this technology, but until the benefits outweigh the risks, it is my opinion that we should reject this offer and the urge of a virtue signalling vote.
I'm just going, I think it's not advisable to impute, reasons behind votes by words like virtue signalling. Can I ask you to withdraw that, please?
I stand by my comments that I believe the technology is not beneficial
That's
to
not-
our
no,
residents,
I'm
and I don't believe that the reasons are there to vote to approve it right now.
That is perfectly valid.
Right.
It's imputing a motivation of virtue signalling.
I
that is-
apologise.
thank
I
you,
take that back.
Thank you. CEO, did you want to?
I just want to make a correction. Western Power approached the administration. The administration did not approach Western Power, that's being suggested. And when we were approached, given the fact that we have a Cities Power Partnership program, we've signed up to the City Power Partnership, it aligned with a number of those principles within that partnership, and we worked with Western Power to a point where we were able to then provide a presentation to Council with Western Power, who actually did the presentation.
And I'm quoting Western Power representatives when I asked them why Cottesloe, they said your CEO approached us.
Well, that's
the
not
quote.
correct.
Point of order. Thank you. We're in a formal meeting. Comments are addressed through me, and there's no debate with the CEO here. The CEO is telling you his version, and I don't believe that there's any reason to be arguing that point. I think the CEO is within his rights to provide clarification. So back to the officer's recommendation. Do we have anyone else wishes to speak to the motion? Councillor Irvine.
Thank you, Mayor. I'd like to speak against the motion. Look, I'm a big supporter of renewables. The reason I'm voting no is after careful consideration. I think we've got one of the most beautiful urban coastlines in the world. I just think a community battery in that location will be an eyesore on the coastline potentially for decades to come. Several residents spoke to me about their preferences of where the battery should be placed. There was a strong push from the residents that I spoke to about putting the battery down by the railway at the end of Grant Street and rather than by the coastline.
Matt, just have a point of clarification with regard to your consultation versus the consultation which has been done by the administration, just to understand the...
Councillor Sadler, I think you got to let the elected member speak, and you can raise that in debate.
There is... I do appreciate what the Mayor said about the two-way, benefits, but a lot of people are seeking cost of living savings. There is a cost of living crisis. A community battery would provide not only renewable energy, but it should, in my personal opinion, provide some payback to people's energy bills that participate. I looked at the council plan today. I know we've got a sustainability plan on the way, which is great. But I couldn't find any reference to putting in renewable batteries for residents. There was a reference to helping businesses become more sustainable, but I saw no reference to residential. I'm really excited about what the Cook government has announced a few weeks back, the WA residential battery scheme. They're putting $387 million to putting the batteries in the residences rather than having these larger community batteries. They're subsidising the residents. So for that reason, I'm thinking that I would like to hold back on any sort of vote for a yes of a large community battery to be installed at this time. Thank you.
Thank you. I'm going to speak in favour of the officer's recommendation. I notice that all speakers this evening have I expressed support for the transition to renewables, and yet we are in danger of falling into the NIMBY category, and I hesitate to impute motives, but the reality is that that is how we can be portrayed. Other communities are going to be asked, are being asked, and are going to continue to be asked to make much, much greater sacrifices of their perception of community amenity. We're being asked to put a relatively small community battery in basically an area where cars are parked in that park, and we're saying it's an unacceptable impost on our amenity, or we should only do it if we get some benefit back. What about all the communities who are going to be asked to make very much greater sacrifices and who may have that imposed on them? And I don't think it's a great look for the western suburbs to be saying no to a community battery when we vote for action on climate change. I think it's just, there's dissonance in that approach, in my view. So I am very supportive because I believe that our community does support the energy transition, and we represent that community. And I would be very surprised if there was very significant pushback. And if there was, I think we should point out, you know, do you want to transition to renewables? And are you aware of the sacrifices that are being asked of other communities? So I'm very happy to support the officer's recommendation. Councillor Thomas?
I will speak for the officer's recommendation as amended. So I suppose just to address some of the points that have been raised, namely batteries are an early stage technology and there's unacceptable fire risk and risk of noise. I'd note that this battery technology has seen a huge rate of development in the past 2 decades, similar to the advent of solar, which is now commonplace on residential households. Western Power advised us they're using the latest LFP battery cell technology, which is very safe, as well as fire suppression and noise suppression technologies. There was a discussion about the preference for batteries at home residences as opposed to community batteries. I would note that we actually need to look at all three, and including the BESS, such as that's going into Kwinana. They all play a role in supporting the grid and supporting the transition to renewable energy. And there's also points raised about ensuring we can get benefits to residents given the cost of living pressures. And I fully support that point and agree that, you know, and I'm glad that the amendment to investigate the virtual battery model power bank has been included, and that will indeed offer the chance for residents who subscribe to save up to a couple $100 a year on their energy bill. I'll leave it at that. Thanks.
Thank you. Councillor Harkins.
Thank you. I would like to speak in support of the officer's recommendation. Just 2 points that I would like to discuss, and perhaps this, if you'd permit me a question through the chair. I assume that a location at the railway line was investigated. We've been told that they investigated a lot of sites and it was shortlisted to the 2 sites in the officer's recommendation.
Through the chair, my understanding is the 2 sites that have been looked at are subject to the network and the availability of access to the network. The site near the railway was discounted because it would have affected more residents than the site at Grant Marine Park. Is that correct, Mr.
to the trajectory. That's correct, Mr. Scott.
Thank you. So that discusses why it's not down at the railway line. Anything we don't want, we stick down at the railway line. But in this case, there's rationale as to why it's not down there. And the location at Grant Marine, I mean, if you look on the map, it's not in the middle of Grant Marine Park. It's tucked into the corner, right next, unless we can get it, as Councillor Sadler's motion perhaps moved even into the car park area, it's certainly not in a very visible location of Grant Marine. So I have the confidence that Western Power will tuck it in best that they can. So I think it's important to be aware that it isn't probably particularly visible when you're down at the beach looking up at Grant Marine. I do have confidence that the Grant Marine Park will still be a beautiful park if there just happens to be a battery tucked in at the corner. So for those reasons, I will, and all the other explained by Councillor Thomas, who knows more about it than most in the room, I will be supporting the officer's recommendation. Thank you.
Anyone else? I think Councillor Irvine.
Just a clarification, I live near the railway line, so I would love to have a battery down there.
Actually, Councillor Irvine, that's not a point of order or a point
And just on the NIMBY thing, Mayor, I'm certainly not a NIMBY. I've installed a lot of renewable energy projects. So
Councillor Irvine, I didn't actually, I tried to clarify. What I'm saying is the perception.
Thank you. I just wanted to make that clarification, Mayor.
Yeah, it's not a point of order, so it's not appropriate to be making it in the middle of a meeting. Thank you. Yeah, thank you. Councillor Heath, as the mover, do you want to sum up?
Yes, well, I think that all the people that have spoken in support, I certainly concur with what they've said, particularly Councillor Thomas has explained very succinctly and well the benefits. So I continue to support the motion, and the one thing I do note that Western Power did consult with the neighbours, and there was nothing negative that was received, I believe, and just the one comment from one neighbour that said, it's fine to put it there, but just please don't splash it with bright colours, and camouflaging it would be the best way to go, and I strongly support that sentiment as well.
Thank you, Councillor Heath. I'm going to put the officer's recommendation as amended to the vote. All in favour? That is Councillor Heath, Sadler, Harkins, Thomas and Mayor Young, and against, that's Councillor Mason and Councillor Irvine. So that motion is passed. Thank you. So we are now moving to matters for which the meeting has been recommended be closed. Item 13.1.1, North Cottesloe Surf Lifesaving Club request for tender is being closed. The recommendation is that that be closed. I'm just looking for the exact wording. It would reveal information that has a commercial value to a person. And item 13.1.2 Harvey Field Playground Upgrade Project Construct, and the reason that this is recommended to be considered behind closed doors is that it contains information relating to a contract entered into or which may be entered into by the local government, which relates to a matter to be discussed at the meeting. Do I have a mover that we close the meeting to Councillor Thomas and Councillor Heath? All in favour? That's unanimous. Thank you. Thank you very much to the members of our community and press for being here. Yeah. And I'm going to close the meeting at 14 minutes to 8.
We back online?
Is it off or on?
We've just turned it back on. What you stopped doing?
Items which were considered behind closed doors. I don't actually have the final.
You got the final wording for me?
Okay. Could we go, please, Ms Pilkington, to the... Oh, good. Okay, then. The following items were considered behind closed doors and the resolutions were passed in the following terms. Item 13.1.1, North Cottesloe Surf Life Saving Club request for sauna. Councillor Sadler, alternative motion. That Council defers consideration of this item so that the administration can present to Council on recommended principles for a potential sauna and public open space development on the NC North Cottesloe Surf Life Saving Club ski shed roof at the April briefing forum. And the following was resolved in respect of item 13.1.2, that Council 1 instructs the Chief Executive Officer to liaise with Tenderer B for them to condense their construction program for practical completion to be completed no later than 30 June 2025. 2, should point 1 be unachievable, authorised by absolute majority a budget amendment as follows. 1, reallocate the $103,767 LRCI to fund the resurfacing project on Dean Street.
Michael Rhodes.
Yeah, that's not in... sorry, that should read... Could I please have that? Apologies.
On local roads, including Dean Street.
So just recapping, paragraph 2.1, reallocate the $103,767 LRCI to fund a resurfacing project on local roads, including Dean Street between Marine Parade and Avonmore Terrace. 2, transfers $103,737 from the Public Open Space Reserve to fund the balance of the Harvey Field Playground project. 3, authorises the Chief Executive Officer to award the Harvey Field Playground upgrade project construct tender to Tenderer B for their contract sum mentioned in the officer recommendation in brief section and sign the contract. 4, authorises the Chief Executive Officer or their delegate to manage the Harvey Field Playground upgrade project construct tender contract including provision of possible variations in brackets, provided the variation is necessary in order for the goods or services to be supplied, does not change the general scope of the contract and is managed within the allocated budget allocation. And 5, authorise the Mayor, elected members and the town's administration to disclose the identity of the successful tenderer. That was the end of the resolution, and we can disclose the identity of the successful tenderer through Mr. Khan.
Through the chair, the successful tenderer is Nature Playgrounds. Thank you, Madam Mayor.
Nature Playgrounds, thank you. The meeting is now closed. Thank you very much.